Hello everybody and welcome back. I apologise, it's been so long since I did a last video. When was it? It's been like a month, maybe a bit more. I had one ready and I just ended up ill, and I thought I'm not recording when I'm ill, so I continued to work on it, and then it just grew into a huge update. So there's quite a lot. I recommend going through the change log, and really reading through there. We'll go over everything. I keep a log of literally everything I've changed, right down to small details. But we're going to go over gameplay changes and the most important and exciting bits. So you can see I've got a few things. It's not a lot in comparison to all of the things that I've changed, but we're going to go over some of the most important things. So I have added some new berry bushes. Now, I actually forgot to set them up ready, so they haven't grown yet because they grow really slow. And of course, bone meal is now disabled. Bone meal does no longer insta-grow stuff. There are other ways to grow crops quicker. That's up to you to discover. But yeah, you'll find these around the world if you go to new chunks or if you start a new world. But they are there anyway. And of course, the berries can be eaten, or you can use them to create the fruit juice as well. But you will need the new juicer tool and some sugar lumps, which are going to be sugar. So we've got them in there. The reason I put them in is because I'm actually thinking about getting rid of these fruit trees. I just don't like them. I think they're ugly. I don't like the way the fruits grow on every single leaf. I'd prefer it if they grew underneath the tree and could be harvested that way. But I just can't find a mod that will do that other than Pam's. But Pam's just adds so much extra bloat that I don't want to use. Just add a load of memory to the game. It's just not worth it. I did change the recipe for the antique atlas, and it's in the changelog, but for some reason it don't work. And I went to look at the file and it's not there. It just vanished. So it's actually uncraftable. So I will release a patch this weekend to fix that. But the reason I put that in place is because it was pointed out that it requires a compass, which uses iron and redstone, which are two resources in this pack that are now much harder and take much more effort to get. And you kind of need a map early on, and I noticed a lot of you were using throw-in and journey map to sort of bridge that gap. So I tried to fix that, and obviously somewhere I screwed up, so I will fix that for the weekend. I apologise, and it will be sorted. Can you guys be quiet? I'm going to turn down my volume because I know it's not actually that loud. It's just me and my headset. Okay, some changes to storage. Many of you have been playing for a while now know that chests require a bit of iron now for the lock. So they're no longer easily accessible early on in the game. So then a lot of you switched to the barrel. But as this pack's all about realism, or trying to be as close to realistic as possible, the recipe for the barrel has now also changed. It now uses 2 iron rings, because all barrels, traditional barrels that we see, they have like those 2 iron ribbons going around them. So that recipe's changed, and then it's kind of like, well, what storage do you use now? Well, the answer to that is wicker baskets, which are kind of cool. I am going to retexture them, I think, because they're just a bit bright and kind of stick out, and really they should have like holes dotted in them. It's a wicker basket. But anyway, as you can see, anything you throw inside shows up visually, which is kind of cool. And they can currently be made from sugarcane, though that can sometimes be quite hard. So I'm actually going to make it out of, I'm going to add a recipe that I'll also use those reeds over there, what they're called, rush, that's what they're called. Rush are actually quite easy to find. They can be found near any damp areas, whether it's swamp, on the edges of rivers, lakes, etc. And they give stems. They kind of break down into like 2 or 3 pieces, and they give stems. So I might add a recipe that allows you to use stems as well. What you might not know about those rushes though, because I know a lot of people don't really use them, you can turn them into plant fibre, so a really good quick way to get a lot of plant fibre. The seeds are also edible, which is probably the most important thing to note. So they don't give a lot, but it's good if you need something to break up that spice of life limitation of eating the same thing over and over again. So it's certainly worth keeping an eye out for. And also, I can't remember who asked, but it was mentioned that vanilla fences and walls, they're just an absolute pain to get the larger animals through the gates. And when you open the gate, all you want to do is go in just to milk a cow, and you open the gate, they all come charging towards the gate and stuff. So it was requested, can we be allowed to jump over fences and walls? And I was like, well, yeah, sure, why not? So you can jump over fences and walls. Animals can't, mobs can't, they're still completely safe, but you have the option of jumping over. Alright, now let's move on to what actually is the most interesting part of this update. These carts are just awesome. Alright, so there's a number of things we can do with these carts. First of all, if we shift and right click, you'll notice they have two chests worth, double chests worth of infantry space. As you fill them up, the model also changes, as you can see. What's even cooler is they can be used in multiplayer. If you just right click, no shift, just right click, you can actually sit on the back. So if you're playing with a friend, they could be riding the horse pulling the cart, you could be sat on the back being lazy and doing nothing. All good, everyone's happy. So you can sit on the back with just a right click, you open with a shift right click, and to attach a horse you're going to need, of course, a vanilla horse, not the stallions from Animania, they're too big and bulky. So don't use them. You're going to need just a vanilla horse, tamed, saddled up, and then you just come along to the cart itself, and when you're close to the cart, your default key is R, you just hit that and you'll see it's now attached and it will follow us. So we can do that, we can shift around large quantities of goodies, all good, and it rains a lot in this map. Please go away. So that is certainly probably the coolest feature, I think. I'm just going to park this back up, and to get rid of it again, once again, just R key, and there it goes. So let me just go and put it on our back. There we go. Get rid of that. Alright, so they're definitely worth getting. You're going to need some iron first though, because it does require nails to build, but definitely worth it. On top of that, I can't show you this because I'm in creative and therefore not thirsty, but slurp mod has been added. Basically, if you've got an empty hand and you just right click out in the water, you will drink straight from that water source. I know a lot of people were struggling with trying to get glass quick enough to make bottles in order to get water, or trying to find the lever, make the lever quick enough to get the canteen. It was a pain in the backside. We can drink directly from water sources now, so that should alleviate that problem. Quickly on the subject of glass, however, let me just go ahead and grab a piece of glass. This kiln recipe is temporary, just for those of you who want to stock up on some glass before I put this into full effect, which will be this weekend. Glass is now made in a stoked cauldron. I don't usually go over recipe changes, but I thought this one was quite important because it changes the way you collect a particular resource. But glass is, let's face it, it's not primitive, is it? It's a, I don't know, it takes a lot to make glass, some serious heat. So you are going to need the stoked cauldron, and when I release a patch this weekend to fix up a few bits and pieces, I will be removing the kiln one. So you are going to need the stoked cauldron to get into glass. That should make a lot of things quite the challenge. Moving on from that, we have carrying stuff, which is quite important. With all the changes to carrying capacity, you know, the encumbrance system, and I'm going to change stack sizes and how much things weigh over now that we've got all of the transport out of the way. It's all in there. You can use carts, you've got the horses, you've got dogs with saddles, you've got backpacks, you've got, you know, food bags for your food. What's it called? I think it was what was it? Was it food satchel? Lunch satchel. That was the one. All these ways to be able to carry more things. So now that they're all in, it's time to start going through and changing stacks and changing the weights to balance it all out, put all that into effect. But when I was doing that, I did kind of think, well, what if I want to move my base around? You're going to do that as you progress. You're going to get new materials. You're going to want to expand and rebuild your base, and that involves moving a lot of storage. And if you can only carry so much, it's going to be an absolute pain in the butt. So I thought, well, why not be able to carry stuff? So if you come up to most objects, not everything, and some objects that you shouldn't be able to carry are carryable. It's all just default settings. For instance, I tested this and I can pick up an elephant. Now, I don't know about you guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm like totally buff and stuff. I'm not totally buff. I'm totally buff. And, you know, I could probably lift up an elephant in real life, but no, I probably couldn't. But you can in this pack. So default settings, I will go through and change it. But anyway, let's get on with what you actually do. So if you come up to any, or almost any block, and you hold shift and you right click on the top surface, you will pick it up. And right click, you can put it back down. And you can see it retain the inventory. Again, just come right up close. You can drop it anywhere you want. Again, it's retain the inventory. You have to be stood up close. I mean, if I shift right click from a distance, not going to happen. You've got to be up close, right pressed up against it. Kneecaps need to be digging into it. And then shift right click. And it works on most things. I mean, I can even do it on a signpost, which is pretty cool. I can just chuck that down. It retains its face and direction, which is kind of cool as well. you can just go ahead and shift it around. But like I said, I need to go through and change what you can and can't pick up. Because for instance, you can actually pick up the top part of this locker, which is a multi-block, and it's very weird. I might show you that before we finish. But at the moment, you can't pick up this candle, which totally doesn't make sense. You should definitely be able to pick up the candle. So I will go through and configure that properly and try and release that as quickly as I can, but it's certainly a decent, interesting thing to have. On the subject of candles, I know that some of you have been using them to avoid having the torches and the effects that torches have. You know, they produce smoke, they go out eventually. Anyway, if I go at night time, I've lowered the light level that they actually give off to a more realistic setting. I mean, candles do not give off a lot of light, let's be honest. So I kind of reduced that as a way to keep them in, but just still make them inferior to torches and lanterns. Wrong one. We want daytime. I've also added agriculture because, well, you might not be much of a hunter. You might want to go fishing instead. Still a lot of tweaking to go in here. I want to change the recipes for actually butchering the fish. At the moment, you just stick them in a crafting bench, it turns to meat. I want to add it so you need a knife, and then it will produce the meat and also give you fish bone, because fish bone actually comes in agriculture. It's right there, fish bones. And we also have bird's nest, which, speaking of fish bones, do actually appear in the bird's nest. The things that you would find birds having, you'll get eggs, feathers, sticks, the fish bones. Sometimes you'll get an actual raw fish, that kind of stuff. Nothing too expensive, but you will find them around and they're nice to have. Alright, let's move on to, I believe this mod was called Reliquia, I believe, which is kind of like, it's not a storage mod, but it is. It adds fancy ways of storing / displaying said items. So we've got this fancy potion holder, which is awesome. I can just pull my potions off there, chuck it back on. Sadly, it doesn't work with modded. So, for instance, if you try to make the tough as nails heat or cold resistance potions, they can't be stored on there, sadly. But other than that, there's not really many custom potions in Banished, so any vanilla potion you can store on there, which is kind of cool. You've also got this little tool rack, which is an alternative to the shelf. It's quite nice. You've got this sword plinth where you can just store your sword in there as well, which is kind of cool. And it also has this fancy, which is basically glorified crafting table. You're not going to use it much because, of course, you have the double bench for the advanced crafting. But what I do like about it is that it uses the candle and it does give off light. So, yeah, if you want a light source, but you also want the space to be usable, that's certainly an option. Moving on, we also have milk bottles. The reason I did these are quite funky actually. They allow you to create 2 milk bottles from either the Animania milk or vanilla milk. The reason these are important is 1 milk bucket will quench 3 first droplets, which I realise now that does not have the quenches first description, so I'll have to add that. But anyway, these bottles also add 3 droplets of first. So you can effectively go from having 1 drink, pouring them into bottles, and end up with 2 drinks. Also, they stack. So if you want to take milk into a cave where you know there's a bunch of spider spawners, which does happen in Banished sometimes, you may want to take milk, but you don't want to be carrying around a ton of buckets which are taking up all that space, so it's quite useful. On the subject of spiders, just be warned that they now sling webs at your feet in order to trap you. Just throw that in there. Okay, I've also added better storage. The reason I added better storage is because I love these crates. I absolutely love these multi-block crates. They're awesome. And of course, you also got the, chests and the lockers of varying different metal types, which are awesome. But I love these storage crates. They're great for just a single bulk item. Don't ever put anything expensive in here. I mean, if you fill this with dirt, you notice every time I open it, the dirt jumps around. That basically just shows you rummaging around within these crates. So if I filled this with dirt and then used my last little capacity percentage to drop a diamond in, chances are every time I open this, I'm just going to see dirt, because that's what's at the top of all these chests. That diamond could be at the bottom of the chest, and I'll just keep opening it and rummaging through and rummaging through and rummaging through and rummaging through until I saw the diamond. So don't use it for multi-item storage, just use it for a single or maybe a double, maybe dirt and stone, and just shove it all in there as a big bulk storage. So that's pretty cool. And let's finally move on to our last thing. Let's have a look. First of all, let's go ahead and sit you down. And I just remembered I need a stick. You need a stick in order to open up his GUI, so let's go ahead and do that. And a boop. Okay, so we have my dog, Benji, who is currently in wandering mode, which means he basically just sticks next to his bowl. I want him to be in docile so that we can play. Alright, let's allow you to sit up and go fetch while I explain. And I'm in creative, so it's just going to keep giving me a new one. My bad. But yeah, you'll go and fetch it oh, yeah, drooly. And go fetch. Oh, you caught it, nice. Alright, let's see how far you can actually go. Let's tell you what, hang on. And go get it. Okay, so with the dogs, as you saw with that GUI there, there's lots of different stats and various other things. And he's, oh no, you got it. I thought he was going to get stuck on the wall. Good dog. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and open up his GUI again. So you can see we have lots of different stats and other things that we can have. Wolf mount basically allows you to put a saddle on him. Shepherd dog, what's the one I have? I have hunter dog here. I've got it all the way up to level 5. So every level grants 10% chance to make anything your dog kills drop its loot twice. And yes, it does work. It is awesome. But there's all kinds of stuff. You got pack puppy so they can carry more stuff. Pillow paws, I think that makes him take less falling damage. Yeah, lots of different stuff. There's also different modes and various levels. So we're going to go over levels. We need, how have I not got my treats? I thought I was prepped, but it seems I am not prepped. You're going to start off with training treats, then it goes up to super, master, dire, and then you've also got breeding bones. Right, where's he gone? There he is. Come here. So that D there basically represents his current status. D for docile. If we look here, it's docile. If I click, W for wandering, A for aggressive, so that's what that means. So I'm going to put you back on docile. And the 59 is his hunger. So if I just feed him some chew toys, you can see his hunger goes up. It also gives him a glowing effect, which just looks weird, I think, because I have Optifine. But yeah, it's only temporary. So that's what those little indicators mean. That's his current status, which is docile, and the 120 is his hunger. You can put food in the bowl, which I've done over here. As you can see, he's almost finished it all because he's greedy. But they will hang around the bowl. There's also a dog bath, and of course, beds. But the thing we want to focus on really is the stats and the skills. So if I give him some treats, you can see every time I use one, they level up. So these are expensive, as you can see. And then it moves up to master treats, which uses a golden apple. And then it's even more master treats. That's a lot of golden apple. That's a lot of golden apples and diamond. And then that's a lot of diamond. And then you need the end. So to get him all the way up to a dire wolf, you need to put in some serious work. But anyway, every time I do this, you can see I'm leveling up until I hit that sort of, that's it. I've hit the roof with that. I now need to move on to super treats. But what that did do is, if I get my stick again, we now have points to spend. And this is what allows you to put stuff in here. So for instance, you've got fisher. Whenever your dog enters the water, it may catch a fish, which it will give to you. There was one I did want. There's poison fang, which will apply poison, but there's one where it turns into hellhound. There we go. Allows your dog to set things on fire whilst attacking. The higher the level, the longer the fire lasts. Mastering the skill, which I think is level 5, will allow your dog immunity to fire. Hell yeah, I want some of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go, I've got 5 points left, and I'm level 20. So he now has 2 skills. He's got Hunter, which gives me potentially double drops, and also Fire. So we've used the chew stick. We've also got a treat bag, if you need to carry treats around with you, as you can see, without using up some of that carry space and your encumbrance, so that's certainly useful to have. You've also got collars, which you can stick on. Boop, there we are. And there's also some collar shears to remove them, although I'm sure, has collar got 1 or 2 L's? It's 2 L's, isn't it? I don't know, whatever. And then finally we have the command emblem, which basically allows you to throw a target, and he will attack whatever target it hits, but he needs to be in tactical. So if I just sit you down, let's go over to, I believe it's tactical. Yeah, unless you use the commander beam. Okay, so stand up, boy. Let us find something to slap in the face. I can't find anything. So how about we spawn? I actually wrote spawn. Wow. Okay. How about we use a deer? Because that's something we're probably going to hunt. Okay, so I'm going to chuck down a deer. And now I'm going to use my emblem. And there we go. He's now going to attack because I threw the emblem at it. And he'll chase it down. Deers are pretty fast, so I probably should have given him some speed, but he'll get there. Probably should give him some speed boost, I think. Wow, those deers really do move quick, don't they? Maybe this was a bad example. Go on. Keep going. Yeah, I probably should have given him some speed boost. I tell you what, let's go for the cow. There we go. Go for the cow. And there we go. There's his fire attack. Hopefully we'll get double drops off him as well. Wow, the cow's fighting back. Did we get double drops? We did not get double drops. And sadly we also charred the food because we had the fire. So it's not a good idea to mix the hunting and that together, otherwise you're going to burn all your food. But you can see how effective that is and how much more control you have over the dogs. So it's certainly awesome to have. Let's just quickly go over turning them into those dogs. Because this is a vanilla wolf here, we've got Dee Dee. Just a bog standard Minecraft vanilla wolf. And all you need is one of those little treats. And boing, there you go. She is now turned into, it says entity doggy talents, blah, 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 blah. But as soon as you go ahead and slap it with a stick, like that, we can go ahead and give her a name again. And there we go. Sit down. And that is how you get the doggies. So those doggies are awesome. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching and thank you for continuing to support. I know this pack has been like a year in the making now, and it's getting there. Progress is slow. It's a lot to build, and I have a lot of ideas still to go into it. So I hope you're still enjoying it. If you find any bugs, then please feel free to let me know so I can get onto them and fix them up. Ideas, suggestions, all that stuff is always welcome. And if you want to download and try the pack, you can find the link in the description. On that link will also be the changelog for those of you who want to see everything that changed. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by, thanks for watching, thanks for the support, etc, 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 and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.